So this is a new Canon EOS-R and it's a piece of sheer photographic goodness, if you ask me. This isn't a sponsored video or anything like that. I actually went out and paid for this with my own hard-earned cash, so I'm going to be giving an honest review over it. I've only received it in the last couple of days, so I've not really had a chance to use it, but the first thing that strikes you is it feels really good in the hand. Coming from the 5D Mark III, which is obviously the same kind of chassis, same kind of size as the Canon 5D Mark IV, I was really hoping that it would feel good, still fit my hand, but obviously reduce some of the weight and some of the bulk. And I'm pleased to say that it does. However, there's been a lot of bad press about this camera on the internet. I was really unsure whether to buy it or not, but there was enough good items about this camera that I thought, let's give it a go. So we'll take a quick look around the actual camera itself today, but I will be doing a full review of it, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, and in a couple of weeks we'll get the full review out to you. So by now you'll probably be aware of some of the key specifications for this camera, including the 30 megapixel sensor, the improved dual pixel autofocus with over 5,000 autofocus points, and probably the biggest change of all, which is the new mount system, the new RF mount. And that represents one of Canon's biggest changes for the last 30 years. It's some of the more subtle changes that probably excited me the most, including the improved touchscreen, the actual versatility of having that flip out screen, and things like manual focus assist that go a long way towards just making everyday shooting a lot easier. Being completely honest, I am a fan of Canon gear, and having used the 5D Mark III for a number of years now, it's been very much a workhorse and it's never let me down. So with the EOS-R, I was certainly looking forward to some improvements over the 5D Mark III, but also improvements in ergonomics, handling, and making sure that it could stand up to day-to-day use. And Canon certainly look like they're taking the mirrorless game seriously. There's many different innovations on this camera that I really like the idea of. The multifunction key maybe doesn't work as well as it could, but things like the function ring on the actual lenses is certainly a great step in the right direction, even if the headline stats still say that there's some big errors in terms of things like the crop 4K, but these I'm sure will be addressed by Canon at some point. Getting back to the main innovation though, and that's Canon ditching the mirror and going mirrorless, they certainly seem to have done a good job. The new RF mount system feels really good. With native lenses they feel fast and responsive, and with a new RF mount system to mount third-party lenses or older Canon lenses, they feel really secure, really responsive, and I haven't noticed any lagging with autofocus or anything like that. They just seem to work perfectly. I am really keen to try some of Canon's other mounts, including the one with the drop-in filter, which just seems like a fantastic idea, and the one with the multifunction ring. However, Canon have had enough of my money for the time being, so I might have to wait a little while for those. So my first general impressions of the camera seem really positive. There's enough there to make sure that you still feel like you're in the Canon family and you understand how to use the camera, but there's also good innovations and a lot of things to be positive about. However, it's very easy to get drawn back by all the negative press that the camera's received. I'm still very confident that this is a camera that can be used by professionals and something that you can really get great results from, but I am looking forward to getting out in the field and fully testing it just to make sure I'm not being misled. However, Canon's biggest issue is that this camera should really have been knocked out of the park, and there's too many of us that have had our heads turned by the likes of Sony, and when you're spending a couple of £1,000s on a camera, you really don't want to feel too shortchanged. So as I say, one of the first things that strikes you about the camera is actually the quality of the feel to it. Feels really robust, doesn't feel too plasticky or cheap, although I've got to say the plastic on the lens feels like a slightly less quality than what was on the old 24-105. looking at the lens itself, it feels good, it feels sharp, and the actual body itself feels pretty good in the hand. There has been some conversation around about the button layout, but I've got to admit, when I picked it up, the first thing that I found is that I kind of intuitively knew where to go with things. However, as with everybody else, the function dial on the back, the new slidey touchscreen kind of thing, I haven't quite got my head around that yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that works in real life. As for other things such as the new flippy out touchscreen, seems fantastic, and one of the problems that I had with the 5D Mark III was the fact that you can't articulate the screen. I shoot a lot of low down angles, especially when I'm shooting automotive work and cars and things, and not being able to see exactly what you're shooting is sometimes a hindrance. Now, with it being a mirrorless camera, one of the other big changes is the fact that it's now got an EVF as opposed to an optical viewfinder, and again, straight off the bat, the EVF looks really good. The colour rendition, the frame rate, everything seems to work perfectly, but I'm looking forward to actually getting out in some bright weather, seeing how that kind of works and seeing whether it is that good. So like I say, the button layout, I found it fairly intuitive. I know a few people have criticised it. I also use back button autofocus a lot. The placement of the back button autofocus probably could be a little bit better, and that missing joypad that everyone spoke about is a little bit of an issue. However, again, I found that by setting up the autofocus points on the actual touchscreen, it's quite intuitive while you're shooting to be able to adjust the autofocus point, so no real problems for myself. Some of the big headline news on this is obviously the lack of 2 SD card slots. I don't find that a problem personally. You might find it a problem, and therefore you might be looking at different cameras, but I'm kind of used to only shooting with 1 card in a camera anyway. One of the functions that I'm really keen to test out about this is the fact that you can actually back the images up to your phone while you're out and shooting. I'm sure there'll be a way of linking that to Dropbox or something, so once again there'll be a way of actually giving yourself a bit of redundancy should anything happen to the card. The other big feature is the crop factor in 4K. Now, I shoot a lot of video, and that's part of the reason why I was interested in this camera, was things like the flip out screen and being able to shoot good quality 1080p. I don't shoot in 4K, like the processing speed, the file sizes, they're enormous. They're actually a bit of a nightmare to deal with, and unless you're specifically shooting 4K for a reason, it's probably more of a hindrance anyway, so that wasn't a big issue to myself. So that's some of the negativity about the camera out of the way, and I've got to say, I don't think I've ever seen a camera launched that's received quite as much criticism, apart from the little Yashica thing that they released recently, which was a disaster. But also quite unjust criticism, because like I say, picking up this camera, it felt great in the hand, and I'm really keen to see what the images come out. Maybe I won't like it after all, so it is a little bit of a gamble, but it certainly feels already like it's going to be a step up from the 5D Mark III. Those of you that have got a 5D Mark IV, I'm not sure how you'll find it. I'd be interested to see your comments below, and I'm just looking forward to getting stuck into using it. So with everything that you've seen on the internet, let me know if you think it's going to be a disaster and if I've just wasted a big lot of money on this camera. And obviously, if you've got any questions about the camera, feel free to let me know. If it's something you're considering purchasing yourself, let me know your thoughts on it, whether you think it's going to be a success or not. Canon have already released some firmware updates to combat some of the minor issues that they had, and I'm sure that there'll be more updates in the future. And I know that Canon rumours have just spoken about the potential of a 75 megapixel version of this that would certainly appeal more to the pro market. So don't forget to hit the like button, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you'll see the full review coming out in a couple of weeks. And if you've got any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them below and I'll get back to you soon. Thanks for watching.